Storyboarding, one of my favorite um, uh, one of my favorite topics. And yeah, okay, that'll work for the video. Great. Composition and juxtaposition. To quote David Mamet, um, uh, filmmaking or cinematography is the juxtaposition of images to advance the story in the mind of the viewers. All right. So it's all about the sequence of images. And here's two pictures I've dug off my hard drive, shot them on completely different days for, just one, some birds at the feeder, and the other, my cat. Okay, but I put them together, and the cat's doing a little bit of acting, it turns out. But I put them together, and we get this whole nother dynamic. Okay, so if I show you the cat first and the birds, then the birds, we have this, or vice versa, it can still work. We get this third concept called lunch, okay, mealtime, which is not in either photograph, okay, but what gives us that third concept is the juxtaposition of those images. And that is really what filmmaking is about and why it's so difficult. Okay, so here's this a few storyboards from a project I did. A documentary on biological warfare, won an Emmy. And so there was a lot more pictures in the sequence, but you had these humans and test animals, and there was they released the biological agents, and the director really wanted to show that the guinea pig or rabbit face, or I guess guinea pig there, that breathing mouth, all right, sucking in this toxin, and then the human, and it's that juxtaposition of the exact same camera angle after a longer sequence of the agent here being released at them is what made it so powerful. And the fact that the U.S. government was doing this to some of its soldiers, literally using them as guinea pigs. Anyhow, we missed a panel. There we go. Okay, something got shuffled. All right, so there are four types of boards basically. Okay, presentation boards, shooting boards, animation boards, and flowcharts. So the presentation boards, these are illustrations that are used to sell the project. Okay, so they have to be slick. They have to be fancy. Do they have to correspond to what you can realistically shoot, during the project? No. They are there to get the client to write the flipping check. That is their job. So they have to look fantastic. They're sales. All right, so they take more work, higher price. This is where you get the most money for your panels, but you do less panels. Okay. Shooting boards. Shooting boards are just really quick, sketchy, get the idea across, communicate it to the people on your team, and try different ideas as quickly as possible. Okay, so yeah, quick, cheesy, clear, and that's usually what most of us are doing. Okay, animation boards. At first I didn't think I had any of these because it's not sort of the type of thing I usually am hired to board. But like on this job, the exact animation of this shoe technology was super important. So the animation boards is where you cue the animators to what's really important in each sequence. Okay, so it's not as quite as frequent as the keyframes, but it's the important keyframes, those that just key moments in the shot. And so it's a lot thicker with boards than your cinematography boards. Okay, so typically the way storyboards are taught, it's cinematography boards. You know, this camera angle, that camera angle, and that's what we're going to mainly be talking about today. But the animation boards go into the acting, and it's where you give direction to the animator to make sure that they hit this detail, you know, that this is the key moment in that sequence. All right. Flowcharts. Okay, so branching boards, and this is more for video games or in multimedia projects. And so you plan out all the boards in the sequence, and you can have linear sequences for a while. This just has two. And then you start splitting, and you split as many as possible. Now, my mistake in doing these boards is I have a lot of these guys ending up in the same spot. And I shouldn't have done that. I really should have drawn out each of the individual ones, because even if the end of the shot was the same, the beginning of the shot was different. And so when I was shooting, I checked it off and was done. And so I then didn't really have enough footage to do what I needed it to do while building the project. Okay, boxes. No squares. Okay, the thing is, you want to plan for the frame that you're going to deliver to your client, and so the way you solve your problems in a frame is very different if it's a classical, okay, 3:4 ratio, or if it's one of the widescreens. Then you have different opportunities to do things, and so you want to take advantage of those. All right, there are even some places that are hanging these televisions sideways, so you might even have to have vertical boxes. But start out, find out what your client needs, what's the ratio, and then you just build out your template for your boards that way, and you drive everything for that. Okay, so you think about using the whole frame to maximum advantage. Okay. Show exactly what you're going to make. That's the whole purpose of this. Okay, so is there going to be a little bit of drift between the final shot and the storyboard? Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of drift. Okay. I had no idea that they were going to have a vertical mirror when they went and shot this. Okay, but the key thing is that you get your clients to sign off on that board, and then your creativity is done. They go, okay, they're going to pay you money to do that board. Your job then is to hit that board as best as you can. Okay, and yeah. And so that way, when they go at the end, hey, can we have a change? Can this, that, blah, blah, blah. You go, well, you've signed off on this. Yeah, we can do that change, but I'll do some more boards for you, and there will be another fee. Okay, we like that. So, okay. Now, getting into the technicalities of stuff, always know where your horizon is. So the horizon is always exactly where in the center of the frame if the camera is horizontal. If you have leveled your camera, the horizon will be dead center going through that. All right, so if you're looking up at something, so the horizon on this shot is probably down there somewhere, right? So I am looking up, therefore my horizon's really low. We're looking down at this character, the horizon is probably up here somewhere. This is this wide shot here, horizon's dead center through the middle. Where it is exactly on the close-up, that could be, I'd have had to draw in a bit of a wall there for us to make a determination. So here, the horizon is probably about there going through the shot if we look at the perspective. Same here, it's up at the top of the frame, right? Here, it's off the frame, probably somewhere up there. Here it is, let's see, if those are going like that, it must be down here somewhere, right? Here, probably dead center going through. Here, let's see if that's going down. So yeah, it's probably off my screen here. So you want to think, is the camera going up? Is the camera going down? All right. So really important as you're trying to come up with slight variations on things. To you got a sequence to do. You need creative shots. Do several slightly up, some slightly down. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Okay. No maps. Do not draw a diagram and say, oh, the camera is going to follow this path here, or blah, blah, blah. Show what is going to be on the frame. So this sequence here, I'm following some cables along and then up this thing, all right? And so, does it work? Do you understand, that's what we need. Does the, in this case, the director has to say, do I like this? Is this how I really want to shoot it? And make that decision before he just shoots it on set. Arrows. Okay, so arrows, I don't use arrows much to show action or anything. You want to make sure they don't change your composition. So I was sort of shocked that in the boards I've done, I even found any arrows. I've actually found 2. But as you see here, here's the start state of the shot. There's the end state of the shot. Chunk. Okay, so I have my starter composition, my end composition. It's been thought out. The arrow's not blocking my composition. The problem a lot of times what happens with students with arrows is that they'll put an arrow somewhere and then leave that side of the screen blank to make way for the arrow. Well, what are you going to have on the screen? You're not going to have an arrow. What's going to be in that part of the screen? Is it empty background? Isn't that going to look weird? Okay. So, oops. Okay. So as far as boards go, I don't care whether you use arrows or not, as long as they don't change the composition. That's my personal point of view on them. Okay. There will be, there we go. There will be directors who say never use arrows, and some that will say, yeah, no, I want to see arrows there. You have to just sort of find out what they like and give it to them. They're paying. Okay. My same issues are with text. Students will put text over part of the screen, and then that skews their composition. All right, so put the text at the base of the screen, okay, so it doesn't screw up what's in the shot. All right, so, and frankly, yeah, the script guys, the writers, they like to read the stuff, but the storyboard must work without the writing, right? Because that's the writer's job. That's not the cinematographer's job. So you really want to make sure that things tell the story without having the words necessary. Alrighty. Okay, so the shot. So once you have that, once you're deciding, hey, I'm going to be up, facing down, so the horizon's up there, okay, or slightly down, looking up, okay, slightly up, looking slightly down, straight on. Once you decide these things, then you start, and you decide whether, gee, do I need a wide shot? Okay, so this is very much the deductive shooting that we're going to talk about later. All right, so I have my wide shot, mid shot, okay. This is probably, a headshot or a close-up, all right. I don't say it's an extreme close-up. I'd really cut the chin to make that an extreme close-up, all right. Some people also call it a tight close-up, and you got to be careful. Certain directors get a little touchy about these silly things, Okay, so yeah, that's a medium. So, wide, long, maybe. This would probably be an insert shot. It's also a side shot, okay? And so that's another thing is like the handshake, that is really clear in the side shot. So I want to not use the side shot anywhere else and save it for that moment. Okay, so you go through the storyboard and you find these certain things that work really best with one shot or another, and you make sure you save, you don't overuse that type of shot till you get there. All right, bit about graphic masses. Okay, so a lot of this comes back to this, so these two guys here, they are evenly spaced. Like this dot is exactly in the center of the frame, and it feels that way. It's very even. These two, they're exactly in the center of the frame, and then they're balanced between them. Actually, I think I'm a little closer that way. It really just takes a couple pixels, 2 or 3, and it'll start to pull. Like these guys are starting to pull. Like down here, these guys, they're a little bit above the center, and so they're starting to pull upwards. Okay, so like this pulls upwards. It's getting that screen magnetism to the edge of the screen. And larger items are going to exert a larger graphic mass on smaller items, and so that's going to pull in as part of the orbit. Okay, so let's actually zip back a few. Bink, 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 bink. Okay, so like this, what's always bugged me about this shot, it's PowerPoint has crunched it a bit, so they should be slightly more rectangles for one thing. But you see, if I'd put this basket up higher, okay, it would be lifting more. Yeah, the clouds sort of cue you in that it's higher, that it's in the air. But if I, use that screen magnetism, and so if we look at the next storyboards here, which I did obviously after that job, okay, here I have this case flying through the air, and I've just, I'm glued it to the top of the screen. It's up there, it's lofted, and so it feels high up, so there it is being used effectively. I forgot I'd even done the set of boards until I started prepping this class. Another standard shot is the over-the-shoulder shot. All right, so this is your classic over-the-shoulder shot, where it's really just a little bit of shoulder, a little bit of ear. This, it's a little bit wider, so I could get the clipboard in there. Here we have the clerk and the guy buying stuff. And then I like to play with it, so here we have the hand instead of the shoulder. Here we have the feet instead of the shoulder. It's doing the same work for me cinematography-wise, but it's a variation. So I have same composition here. Here I'm using the ornament on the car to do the same sort of thing. Okay, 180-degree rule. All right, 180-degree rule is one of those ones that you rarely break. You do break it once in a while, but when you're doing a conversation between two people, or a person picking up something, or two things interacting with each other, all right, whatever that may be, you keep the camera on one side. Okay, so you draw a line between the two of them, and so you can put the camera anywhere from this guy's ear all the way around to that guy's ear. Okay, now you can slowly march the camera around and past and then over, okay? But you want to be slowly marching the cuts past the back of the head. I hate seeing the back of the head center in the frame. Yeah, so, why are you looking at the back of someone's head? It's silly. If you're in a theater, you'd move, all right? Or you'd shift to the left or the right. Anyhow, so the 180-degree rule, you stay always on one side to keep it really clear. I mean, if you're watching a football match and your team is running towards the goal on the right side of the screen, and they cut to the other side of the field for a camera, and all of a sudden your team is heading towards the left side, you're going to get confused. It's going to, ruin your enjoyment of the football game. So, these things are important. Another time that you can break the rule is if someone's confused and disoriented. Then, yeah, you really mix it up and you make it confusing. But that's using the medium well. Okay, that's deliberately breaking it to heighten that third concept. Getting back to our cat and the bird, that lunch, aspect of it. All right, so let's look at Jerry's game here. let's see, I have it queued up here. And just this movie is fantastic for the use of camera angles. If you know it, it's all about a it's very much doling out information, and it's an animator's movie, because you have the same character with two performances and two personalities being displayed, and then it's the cinematographer's piece because of the way it is being it needs to be edited for it all to work. So what we just saw there was inductive style shooting, where they show you him setting up the board and you get that bigger idea of him starting to play chess. We go to our wide shot here. Notice we have yellow trees on one side, red on the other. Takes his glasses off, slowly walks across. So here's the side shot, used very strategically. I know it's easy to draw, but you want to be on 3/4 most of the time. So there, red background, strong personality, different personality type on that side. No glasses. Notice the pacing of the edits. They're going to slowly speed up. So you can adjust the tempo, not just with music, but also the speed of your edits. So there, faster edit. Notice where the horizon is. Okay, so now the horizon's sort of equal between the two of them. He's on yellow, red background on him. So natural backgrounds, but it's, and so there we had a low angle up, denoting power, all right, angle down on the weaker yellow Jerry, okay, making him more of a victim. Okay, so we're looking down at him, we're looking up at the red version on the left. Okay, so, but it's all in the video editing, right? If we did a wide shot now, the whole illusion goes away. At this point in the movie, you have to forget that they're actually the same guy playing chess. So, we're looking down at one, we're looking up at him. He has power, all right? So, really critical. I love how all these factors come together in this. So, extreme looking up at him. We got a little bit of sky there. We have the glasses exaggerating stuff. So it's very strategic with the camera angles. Very narrow angle there. Slightly wide, but not enough to give the game away, no pun intended. All right? We're also going to the horizon in the middle again. So things are getting a bit more neutral. And so it's not 100%, but it's a lot of it, a lot of it. So there, he still thinks he has power, so we're still looking up at him. Okay? He's more imbalanced, we're looking down. He still thinks he has power. He has the red behind him, the angry color. And he has, so shock, disbelief, looking up in triumph, looking down. And defeat. All right, anyhow. So that's enough of that. All right, I had to do the YouTube because my copy is down at school for a lecture tomorrow. All right, so there we go. So the over the shoulder, we talked about Jerry's game. Okay, jump cuts. So jump cuts, oh, there we go. Okay, I was like, oh, I don't have examples of jump cuts. So what you want to avoid is cutting between two characters with the same shots. All right, so doing that back and forth, if they're too close together, it's a replacement. But here, my client asked me, hey, have one of the kids outside the shop, then we'll dissolve, and I want him exactly to replace, be replaced by the shopkeeper at his counter. Okay, so, I lined them up, I put them on the window and traced and made sure their silhouettes matched up. Okay, but usually you want to avoid that, right? So you want to have the rule of thumb is you move the camera like 30 degrees minimum. Um, but yeah, so you have to have some variation, and you want your, here's an over-the-shoulder shot again. You want the viewer's eye to be moving around a bit through the screen. You always want to control the viewer's eye. So here's the conversation sequence I just storyboarded for a client, and here's one set where I have the two people 90 degrees from each other, and I can go back and forth between one being in profile and the other being in straight on. And so I had a few variations on that. Then we go to this sequence, and I go, they touch glasses. That's where I want to use that wide shot, and that's that side shot. And then it's over the shoulder shot, mid shot, okay? A little tiny bit of shoulder there. But, just a mid shot, close up, over the shoulder shot, a side shot. 15, 16, oops, where's 16? All right. I have a diagonal high one as well. So, this variation as you ping pong back and forth. All right. And so the fact that the viewer goes from looking at this side of the screen, then they have to move their eyes across, that's strategic. Okay. In that previous sequence where I'm replacing the kid with the shopkeeper, the director really wanted your eye to be on that kid, and then it dissolves and does the transition. He knows where he wants the eye of the viewer for the sequence. Okay, so side angles, once again, we've already talked about it a bit. Here's my handshake, variation on the other handshake I did. I got my high shot. Here's a variation on the over-the-shoulder shot. It's past the elbow instead. Why? It just mixes it up. It's a bit more fun, and that sort of stuff. So it's the straight down shot. Students always turn this into me, and it's like, you're not doing plays on a football field, okay? It doesn't really work. I've seen it in feature films. It takes you out of that experience. I mean, in drawing this, I had to shift his body forward a bit so you have you can read him. The guard here is really hard to read what he's doing, and that's what it is because of the crazy camera angle. All right, but that's the thing. The client really wanted this extreme straight down shot. I have to do it. But as you see, it doesn't work well, so stay away from it. Okay, have a bit of an angle. Be up high, but show the length of the body a bit. Okay, because it's how we are used to recognizing humans. All right. Okay. So then we got two styles of shooting. We have inductive shooting, okay, and deductive shooting. I've mentioned them already before in doing this. So this is inductive, where we have the I have the mixing, all right, stuff, okay, and so it's the milk in this case pouring into here, and then droplets of something going. I think that. Oops. I think this shot might have needed to be before this that one. Anyhow, so they were loose on the hard drive. Okay, because yeah, this stuff would be in there in the fuller sequence. But so anyhow, it's these little tiny vignettes building up to an idea in the viewer's mind, where the alternative is deductive shooting, where you start with the wide shot, you have a shot in closer, 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 then coming to the idea that you want to have. And that's sort of the standard shooting that you do on a sitcom or stuff. It's where you have the big establishing shot, and then you go to the medium shot, then you go to the close-up, bang, 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 and just again and again and again, and it's formulaic. Because it's easy and it always works. Where the other, it is harder. Because you have to really think through exactly what we're leading the audience through. Okay, so another thing, moving the camera does not add meaning. Okay, you want to move the camera when there's really nothing else to do. Okay, or in an action sequence, it's just to follow the action and keep everything moving on a lot of high energy stuff. But things should basically work with still cameras. All right, this pan across the monkey faces and then seeing the human face, the meaning there is that the human is being treated like these experimental monkeys. Okay, the moving of the camera does not add anything to that meaning. It can heighten it. It heightens the point by having us focus first on our monkeys and that situation, and then having the human there. Okay, so feed the audience information slowly. Dole out information to the audience. It's like telling a joke. You don't start with the punchline. Yes, you know the punchline at the beginning. Okay, when you're doing a movie, animation or a sequence, you know who the murderer is. You know it's the butler. Don't tell the audience it's the butler. Okay, slowly dole out that information for the whole movie and let them figure out that it's the butler. So another nice little sequence. This did get cut from the documentary. I was really pissed because I thought it was fantastic, if I do say so myself. And so here we have a variation of the over-the-shoulder shot, all right, through most of this sequence, and then the big dramatic reveal of this. Now, this is one of those cases where the director is like, Steve, we'll have the camera straight down on them, and then he pushes out his chair, and I'm like, no, it doesn't work. Here's why it doesn't work. And luckily, I've worked with this director enough, he listens to me on these things, and he wants my input. You have to sort of be careful. Because, it's a tempting idea. It works well in words, not in reality. Okay. Another thing is, all right, so why do you do these storyboards? Okay, so you know that your story is going to be told if you take all these images or you create all this animation. That's one reason you're doing it. Okay, another reason is to sell it to your clients. But the data that you come out of it, I've sometimes been on special effects jobs where I didn't have to storyboard. I boarded so I can figure out the budget, okay? And so I can figure out how much do I charge? What am I going to need to do what's in the script? Boom, boom, boom. I work it out. I figure out how long is it going to take me and how I'm going to do stuff, and then I use it for budgeting. Prop list. It gives you that list of all the props you need to buy, which is why I created this image. I was shooting this on a Sunday morning. I forgot to buy orange juice. Orange juice is here. It's so you go through those boards and you write down everything that you need. So the day that you shoot, everything that you need is done. Okay, for animation, you have to make sure everything's modeled, UV'd, textured, and ready to go. You figure out how many sets or environments or locations do you need to tell your story. You make sure you go out and find the locations. From animation, you have to model them. All right, and you have your actor list. How many actors do you need to hire? Or how many characters do you need to build to tell your story? So that's one of the really important bits of data that makes it all worthwhile. So, and that's really a 10-week storyboarding class crunched down to however many minutes this took me to go through. There's more stuff to know about, but that's enough to get you started. And the books on storyboards, they'll basically tell you that and spend most of their time saying draw better. Okay, so work on your perspective drawing, work on your rendering skills, as you see, I'm doing a lot of stuff nowadays where it's just quick sketches. I toss them into Photoshop, clean them up, put some blur on them, and get it out the door. So, and usually my clients are paying for black and white. I toss in a little bit of color just to make sure that the idea gets communicated. If I need to have, to communicate orange juice, sort of need to have orange. All right, so, but that's why you've seen some color in some panels and not in others, is because they're not paying for color boards. If they're paying for color boards, sure, they get color boards, but that's a different price point. All right, hope that helps. Have fun.